Where we are here on the post-flight show. That's right, number 15. A lot in his life, he's been gifted with the opportunity to work in television as an executive. He's also a comedian. He's a songwriter. He's handsome. He's smart. He's funny, and he's here. So I have to say all of those things. He's also Canadian, and at the same time, like me, he's able to work both with Apples and with PCs. Although he's a bit of an Apple purist at times, and it's almost terribly annoying. He's been a software developer. He's been, I don't know, any number of things, including apparently involved in late night television. So without further ado, I have to bring up the man himself. Here with me, we have Mr. Paul Chato. Hi, Paul. How are you?
Hello. I'm very good. And yourself? It was it's like it's only been like hours since I saw you last.
I know. I feel like, and yet at times it feels like days. I don't know. I'm glad you're here this evening.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me onto your show. I think you have a great group, a great gang, great audience there.
I do, and you're part of my gang now. You're part of the casino gang. I gotta try to zoom in a little bit so I can. I have to make my head as big as yours because I don't have the 100,000 subs yet, but I have to get my head.
Well, I have one of those controllers. I got a new Elgato. Rather than, the new camera I'm going to be ordering does have a USB-C connector that will go into my computer to make it an absolute fantastic, pristine experience. Some people actually do spend the money to get some crazy 4K camera to do their streaming. But this Elgato thing was on sale, and I was sure that was going to be better than my crappy camera. It's pretty good. I think the picture is okay. So
I think you look great,
So, but I also have special lighting, and then
Boy, you dressed down for my show. Morning,
I hadn't technically dressed up for Midnight's Edge. What I'd done was that was just the costume that I didn't change out of when I did my bit on my new news channel.
New news. At this point, I kind of give the guests an opportunity to introduce themselves. I think everybody deserves that. You're hardly known in the community. So I'd like you to tell everybody what you do, because I find it fascinating at times.
Well, what I've done or what I'm doing now?
What you're doing now, what you've done always. What you are.
Basically, I do what I enjoy. It doesn't mean that I'm enjoying what I'm doing at the time, but that sometimes you just have to get over that. I don't know. If people are fascinated by my arc, and so when I was a young lad, I wanted to be a nuclear physicist, and I even had bought my own cloud chamber from the Edmunds catalog, which supplied me with a radium source, which they don't do anymore. And got the dry ice and the water, and then I would watch cosmic radiation, the little paths of the cosmic rays colliding with the water vapor, and to me that was endlessly fascinating. I used to build Heathkit radios, and then went out when I was 14 and repaired those horrible car Philco radios in
Oh,
cars for money. I found the cheap. I found out why most of them were breaking. So I was very entrepreneurial, even back then. And then I went to I wanted to be a nuclear physicist, but my English teacher, who was a Russian communist, said, "No, you got to go into television. You're much too talented to go into physics." And then so I did. I went into Ryerson for radio television arts. But because I was a cartoonist, I went down to the school newspaper called the Eye Opener and asked them if they wanted a cartoonist, because there was no art classes available at Ryerson University. And so, yeah, they let me join them. Now, I will say this to everybody there: we all have moments in our lives where that are really super important. High school does not make you confident in yourself at all. In fact, the opposite happens. Either you've got assholes around you that are pushing you down, or the teachers don't, they're kind of like what you're doing. But then you've got yourself to deal with. I mean, you've got your own anxieties, and you don't really believe what other people are saying, but you just keep doing the shit that you're doing. And what was happening that, you go to your first year of university or college, you're really nervous. You're a freshman. You don't really believe that you're going to be able to contribute anything. And then, I say, okay, I got to find a place to do this artwork and drawing. So I went to the newspaper. It's called the news. It was called the news. No, it was called the Eye Opener. And so here's all these seniors running the place, and they really knew what they were doing. And obviously they were older, and they had actually hair on their testicles, which I hadn't at the time. So, I didn't really feel very grown up, and I matured later. A skinny lad, 99 pounds. And I just walked in there and I went, well, I'd like to be a cartoonist. And they said, well, yeah, sure. Show us some of your stuff. And I did. And they went, okay. And it was the first time in my life that I was asked to do something just based on my skill. And they went, we need that skill. You have it. Welcome aboard. That was a super important turning point in my life, where it wasn't about ego, wasn't about all the baggage that you would normally have in high school. They needed a cartoonist, and I filled the bill. And so I just became like, when you're doing a cartoon every week, it was a weekly paper. You got better at it, because it would take me an entire week to do one of these scratchy ink cartoonists
right.
cartoons. And that was thrilling. And then they went, oh, you know how to do drawing and thing. How would you like to do layout and design of the actual paper? And at the time, there was no desktop publishing. There was what is called a blue line flat. And you would take your body copy that was printed out on photo film and photo paper, and then run it through a beeswaxer, and then you would rub it down and you'd cut it out, and then you'd put the ads in, and then you'd make a paper, and you got to take a look at a page, and you got to go, okay, I got too much copy. I'm going to have to cut up the copy. And you learn to do copy editing with an X-Acto blade. You don't have a computer to go back in there to redo the copy. It's late at night. It's 2 a.m. All the paper has to go out to the printer. You've got all these flats, and you've got someone wrote too much copy. And so you just cut out paragraphs, and I think that was unbelievably valuable, to learn how to do copy editing physically. And then after that, when I graduated from radio television arts, became a graphic designer.
Wow.
So rather than going into TV, and I would go to stores with ugly logos, and I'd go, your logo's ugly. Let me redo it. And if it was some usually some European guy, some Greek guy, and he goes, no, logo good, go away. But then I became head of marketing for Kelly Stereo Marts, which was the largest stereo chain in Canada. And I learned how to manage the entire East Coast ads.
Wow.
So I was on my own. I met a friend who worked at Radio Shack, and he said, damn, like, we have half the stores that Kelly Stereo Marts has, and we got 26 employees doing the East Coast. And I was doing it on my own. So I was burning out. But I learned to be organized. And then one day, I got a call from Rick Green, and we decided to become stand-up comics. I called my mom, a Hungarian Jewish woman, and she knew something was up. Like, I didn't have to say anything. And she's on the phone yelling at me. Why are you quitting your job? It's a job. You're getting all sorts of benefits and everything. Why are you quitting to be a comedian? You're killing me, killing me. So I quit to become a comedian, and then did that for 15 years with Rick. And then the Frantics had our own TV show, had a radio show that about 500,000 people were listening to us every year for about 4 years. We traveled the country, sold out shows. And then when we quit, I became head of TV comedy at CBC, did that for 3 years, and traveled to LA specifically to try to, because we were doing sitcom. Anytime we tried a sitcom up in Canada, we were good at sketches like SCTV. I mean, you're familiar with the Kids in the Hall and SCTV. We're good sketch comedians, but lousy sitcom makers. So I went to LA and talked with some of the Canadian expats, like Stan Daniels, who worked on Mary Tyler Moore, Taxi. Maybe you've heard of those shows. I
may have heard of those.
I brought up Burt Metcalf, who directed probably a third to a half of all the MASHs. He was a Canadian. So these were very untalented people that I tried to tap into to try to teach us, how to do it. And that's really how I got into the LA scene. And I spent a lot of time in LA. I even, spent time in the studios, got to know some of the executives who would bring me into meetings and show me videotapes of women they were auditioning, and they'd go, "Hey, Paul, do you think she's fuckable?" I go, "Well, yeah, I'd say yes." Okay, that was the criteria for hiring someone for it.
Back in those days, things were simpler.
Simpler. Drugs and rock and roll. So then there was an incident that happened that I went, oh boy, I'm turning into the player, which is a movie about an individual that gets sucked into the horrendous world of Hollywood. It's very difficult to keep your own sanity in the business. I mean, especially as an executive. I interviewed at Paramount for a vice president position worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then something happened with Cher at the Polo Lounge, and I kind of just got on a plane that night and came back to Toronto. And because I was also a programmer and a designer, I started a new media company. And that was in 91, worked with Apple, built up a huge business with Daimler worldwide. We handled 100 foreign websites for Mercedes, did that and reduced the size of the company to now we're doing hosting for small businesses, which I'm still somewhat managing. I'm semi-retired and spending most of my time here on YouTube. So how's that for a summary?
Amazing. And thank you. Wow. And I thought my work history was diverse. I think you might have 2 jobs on me. So that's
yeah, I did. The stuff with Apple was fun. I was a booth babe. They sent me across the country. I got sent to the UK. So,
well, we have a question here, I guess, or
shoot.
And this is from Rumble. See, this is one of the reasons why I use EV Mux is because I can get both Rumble and YouTube. Pretty soon I'll have Odyssey on here as well. And
nice! It brings everything in,
pipes it in. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. So this is from Rumble. It says, "Ask Chato about being almost completely naked in a pastry cabinet."
Yeah. So that was a sketch which I wrote about a guy who goes into a pastry shop and wants to buy some pastry, and then he's checking it out and buys it, and then he turns to the owner of the pastry shop and he said, "Okay, now rub it on my body." What? "Yes, please rub the pastries I just bought on my body." And he goes, "I'm not doing that with my pastry. These are the finest ingredients in the world. Why would I do that? You're a one sick person." And I said, no, I need to get these pastries rubbed on my body. That's what I need. And then I hop into the it was really a refrigerated patisserie cabinet. Right. And I just rolled in all the pastries that set decorators had stuck in there, and the eclairs and everything, was chocolate, and
Oh,
all this shit was all over me. And oh, and then the owner gets into it because I give him more money. And then he smears stuff all over me. I'm going, yes, yes, more, more. Anyways, yes, it's I think a pretty memorable sketch.
clearly. I mean, I don't think anybody here has heard it. That was
No,
amazing.
no, that's an art. If you go to the Frantics channel on YouTube,
Yeah.
Four on the Floor, the Frantics 4, I think is the channel name. Our entire 13 episodes from the Frantics 4 on the Floor are there, and you will find that sketch in there.
Wow.
We had a great time.
That's amazing.
We had one season, was on Showtime, and then it just didn't get picked up, and that was the lowest point in my comedy career.
Yeah, but then you went on to be an amazing executive.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, but the thing is, you just keep putting your shoe forward, and you keep one foot in front of the other, and don't stop, and stuff happens.
You know, I think, and this is something that maybe you and I, because we're a little older, probably have a unique perspective on. The concept of failure wasn't the end of what the effort, right? Because you just kept going back and trying new stuff. Most people, I've had a myriad of careers, and I've been an entrepreneur, and I've started more companies than I've worked for corporations, and but my work history started when I was 13.
Mm.
So, much like you, I mean, I kind of like just went from thing to thing to thing to thing, finding out what I liked. And I'm glad you stuck with comedy and entertainment, because you have.
Oh, it was my entire life. I mean, I was, when I heard the Goon shows on a British show, it's a British series. Spike Milligan wrote them, and I was smitten. So that would be my early teens. And so in between blowing up atoms, I was listening to the Goon show, and no, comedy was a huge part of my life.
That's so great. All right, well, we need to actually get to some of the questions, but we do have some super chats, so let me.
Oh wow!
Yeah, let me get to a couple of the starred comments here.
Please support Culture Casino, everyone.
And we just got a massive gift from one of the amazing supporters out there. WG just dropped 10 Culture Casino memberships.
Wow.
WG, I appreciate that. Space Dave 2000 with a Canadian $2 says, what was it like working for the CBC, Mr. Chato?
It was actually really exciting. I was lucky to work with Yvonne Fitzan, who was a genius, programming genius, and he worked for NBC under Brandon Tartikoff, and I got to meet Brandon Tartikoff.
Now he was quite the television executive.
Oh, he was a great guy. Brilliant. Died too young.
Yeah.
Fantastic person. He was the one responsible for the A-Team, Cheers,
Yep.
Hill Street Blues, Manimal, a lot of crazy shows.
Yeah, he was the guy that got must-see TV going.
Yeah. The Thursday night lineup when he was there had Cosby, Family Ties, Cheers, one more, and then finished off with ER or something.
Good gravy.
Oh no, Hill Street Blues. Finished off with Hill Street Blues.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh my God! You just turned on the NBC on Thursday at 8:00, and you just never.
You never changed the channel.
And
that actually happened. People literally did that. And there was a nascent startup at that time that was trying to launch, I believe. And but otherwise there were just 3 networks for most people.
Yeah. No, it was a fun time. I even got onto the Cheers set. I was on the Paramount when I was interviewing for Paramount. I made the wrong turn, and I ended up in the studio that Cheers was there, and it was completely empty. And I looked around, and I went to Norm's chair, and I sat in it.
Oh wow!
So,
well,
I was watching Family Ties being taped. That's what I was doing.
Oh, there you go.
So
yeah, that was a terrible show too, wasn't it?
Oh, another horrendous show featuring some Canadian that didn't get very famous named Michael J. Fox, was it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Not anybody. Here's a question from the.
Oh, so CBC. What was CBC like? Yeah, CBC was fun. Yeah. I got to do things. Yvonne was amazing. He was kind of scary and hard to figure out for me, but at the same time, yeah, I can bring up that question later. Um, but I learned so much from him, and he basically said, "Do whatever you need to do, and when you screw up, I'll tell you." And I mean, I have a funny story. So Yvonne was feared at CBC
Right.
because the man had an intellect, and he was also kind of a cipher. So when you're a cipher, people are afraid of you also. Good looking guy, worked for NBC, came back to save the CBC or tried to. And so we would have these monthly meetings with all the heads of the department. And there were some people with a sense of humor, but most not. And Denny Harvey, who was the head of English language television, he was French Canadian. And only in English Canada can you have a French Canadian, the head of English language television, because of the politics of it. But he would leave me at the very end because he realized that I would come up with something funny. So he wanted a final joke. I learned very quickly that he wanted a joke at the very end of every meeting. And we have a magazine up here called Toronto Life. And Toronto Life had an issue, people on the way up and the people on the way down, kind of Vanity Fair-ish bullshit, right? And so one year, my boss, Yvonne Fitzanne, was a mover and shaker. He was going up, like I was heading up. Then the second year, possibly because some of the shows I made for him that failed, he was the second year, he was on his way down, like on the outs, Yvonne Fitzanne, like, he's heading out. And he wasn't at the meeting where Denny Harvey said, "Well, Paul, do you have anything to say?" I said, "Well, as most of you know, I work for Yvonne, but based on the Toronto Life article, he's on the outs. I've decided to dump him, and I'm going to hitch my wagon with the news department, Joan Donaldson, and Trina McQueen." And then there was this gasps, and then I left. And then a couple days later, Yvonne came back from whatever business meeting he was had flown to, and Paul would, Mr. Fitzanne would like to see you. I went, okay, what's going on? So I go into his office, and he's just looking at me sternly in that kind of face that you can't figure out what's going on. He goes, "I heard what happened at the monthly meeting." I went, "Yeah." And he said, "Some people just don't get Letterman." So he got, I mean, the guy's a funny
That's
guy.
a joke. That's awesome.
So he said, "Paul, two people came into my office and went, 'Do you know what Paul said?' And at the meeting, he said that he's dumping you and hitching his wagon with Trina and Joan." They didn't get the joke. And these idiots who don't understand that I would have done it with Yvonne in the room, because then it would have been funnier to actually have him here than here.
For the reaction.
And I left the CBC when they cut like 1,200. They cut like 1,200 jobs. Well, this is the strange place. There are people with no sense of humor, no irony, and they cut like 1,200 jobs. They didn't cut mine, but they cut my budget, and they wanted me to stay. And I said, "Well, if I can't green light shows, I'm quitting. I'm not reading scripts." I'd read about 1,200 scripts over the 3 years, and I would phone back every single writer because I wanted to treat them the way I wanted to be treated.
Right.
And I said, "No, I'm not going to continue to read scripts and then tell everybody no, and not take any hope away from them." So I quit. And on my last day, then he said, "Well, you're leaving, Paul. Thank you very much. Do you have any final words?" And I said, "It's been a great 3 years at the CBC, but it's time for me to return to the creative community."
Oh, no.
Silence.
Oh, my goodness.
Absolute silence.
They're like, oh, my gosh.
Oh, man.
And I bet you half the room still was like dumbfounded. Like,
probably. Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Funny?
I mean, I think that's a funny joke.
It's a great joke.
It's a great joke. So there's the CBC. I've got lots of other stories. It was a really good place. I'm so sorry that things went downhill and there was really not much we could do.
There was some funny stuff that came out of Canada for a long time.
Yes and no, fits and starts. There was something called the Newsroom, which was brilliant. Not the same one that.
Not the new one from Sorkin. Not
Not
Sorkin.
this. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
This was Finkelstein, very acerbic. Anyway, yes,
Yeah.
both of them were women.
Of
We
course
rent
they
them.
were.
Oh, yeah. I don't know who he wouldn't tell me who it was who snitched on me.
Oh, it's just funny. It's just funny. We
It's
got
really
another one
funny.
for you. We've got a lot. People want to know a lot of
Apple.
stuff.
There was the Apple question.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to
Oh,
that one.
okay. Yes, I did. I actually did a bit on SCTV.
Yeah. You had a pretty dynamic career. I don't
Oh,
think.
they were great people. Great bunch of people.
Here's the thing, Paul.
I'm very lucky.
We may have to abandon my normal format because we're getting lit up with the chats right now.
Okay, that doesn't matter. We can answer the questions quickly, and I'm interested in well, we'll do whatever we want. I mean, whatever the people want. I mean, they're paying for it.
Yeah.
There was an Apple question in there.
Bubba Big Daddy Porkins wants to know: was Paul Chato also a double agent for the CIA? I gots to know.
I can't reveal that.
I didn't think you could.
No,
I think you could tell anybody that.
And I was a member of the Canadian version of CIA, which is CSIS.
CSIS.
Yeah.
All right.
Canadian Security of
You
losing. I don't know.
So you guys guard bacon and stuff.
Yeah, we guard our bacon.
Oh man, and I lost the Apple question. You remember?
Well, they yeah, I don't know. Well, CSIS, I don't know whether that's our foreign spy org.
Oh.
What was the Apple question?
I don't know where it went.
Damn. If you could ask it again, you don't have to pay.
I'll grab it again. So FKHC 2005 says a non-entertainment question for Paul. Favorite ice hockey team?
The Toronto Maple Leafs.
Really?
Yeah. Sorry. I can't. I mean, I was born in Toronto. I watched them win in 1967 against the Montreal Canadiens in 6 games. One of the greatest sports moments of my life. And then I watched Harold Ballard absolutely rip the heart out of the team. Mm-hmm. And then there was that horrific call by Kerry Fraser, non-call on Wayne Gretzky when he actually tripped Doug Gilmour, and he wasn't called. And then Wayne Gretzky came on to score the tying goal, and then they went on to LA to beat Toronto. And whenever I was at the game and Kerry Fraser was reffing ever since then, and he came close to me and I was at the boards, I would just, you fucking peacock. Wow. I just screamed, and I have a loud voice, and I knew he heard. I just, anytime he came close to my side of the board,
you gave him the
everything, every time, just absolutely screamed at him. The worst non-call ever, because Wayne Gretzky was God. You don't call a penalty on Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Paul, Nano Reaper is blaming Robin Hood on you.
No, that's a global show. I have nothing to do with that. It's a pretty horrific show. I watched the first 2, and then that was it. I had it.
Oh man, everybody loves the SCTV business.
SCTV they were geniuses.
Yeah.
And that show was done cheaply out in Calgary for a good chunk of time.
Let's see. What else do we have? Cord Wayner says, Chato just narrated his obituary.
Yep, fit that on my gravestone, you fuck.
Oh, here we go. I found the Apple question. Okay. This is from Animation Critic. How long did you work for Apple? Good question.
So what happened was that we got with the Frantics, we bought the early first generation Macintoshes because none of us, the 4 of us, wrote at a different pace, and we were using typewriters up to that point. And I figured if we could centralize on a server-based system, then we could equalize things. It would be easier. We're not rewriting things from scratch. We're just rewriting digital copies. And so I was able to put together what the very first, at least in Canada, commercial version of AppleTalk networking system. I'm a complete nerd and a geek. And it turned out I was the first person ever to install it. So what happened was Apple twigged onto that And then they had other big accounting firms like Pete Marwick and other companies that were settling on Apple products. And they called me in to do the networking because
Oh,
I was
wow.
the only person in Canada who knew how to do it. And then that just, I got into desktop publishing. I bought a laser printer. I learned how to program in PostScript. And we were myself and another fellow, we were the leading edge of testing and getting desktop publishing up and running in Canada. We were, the joke was that we would do a color SEP in 1 week. Now it takes seconds, right? But
Right.
at the time you had to do it by hand, and you had to
Anyway.
hand do the dot angles by hand in PostScript, and it looked like shit, but we did it, and with 128K of RAM. And that just gets you around. And then Apple hired me to introduce the new PowerPC Max and to go across the country to introduce all their new products in the desktop publishing line. And then I went to the UK to demonstrate Letraset software. It was a great time. I mean, it was such a wonderful time to be a nerd, to demonstrate PageMaker to a group of people and move a picture into a whole bunch of text and have the text automatically re-rag itself around the picture. People would applaud. Like, it was great. And then Microsoft hired me because they brought in Excel on the Macintosh first, and they wanted to get people's appetite whetted for a Windows version of Excel. So I got trundled all over Ontario.
That was the 90s, wasn't it?
Oh, yes, it would have been the 90s. Yes.
Yeah.
That was great. Had a great time.
That was that was pre or post Windows 95 Chicago? You remember?
Oh, a pre.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was like 3.1.
Oh yeah, way pre. This is when in the DOS era. See, the Microsoft was fighting itself in DOS because Microsoft was a tiny company. The
Right.
big companies at the time were Ashton Tate, Lotus 123, and DBase.
Yeah.
So, WordPerfect. So WordPerfect, these were the triumvirate: WordPerfect, Lotus, and Ashton Tate, which owned DBase. And Microsoft knew that they had their work cut out of them to try to, to dislodge their own DOS when they brought out Windows. They were competing with themselves. So, I mean, I was hired by Microsoft to help them sell Windows.
Well, the question we have on the screen is also a super chat, but it's from Rumble, so it's called a something different.
Edition of the Kids in the Hall. I was a huge supporter of them. I was one of the people that pushed them at the CBC. I used to go watch them live all the time at the Rivoli. And unbelievably talented bunch of guys that got taken under the wing by SNL guy, Lorne Michaels.
Yep.
And the only dish I would say is that by the time they got their show, they were already tired of each other and quite unhappy with each other.
Which is
so it was about 3-4 years of I don't think they really particularly enjoyed doing the shows. But since then, I mean, they've gotten back together many times. I've watched them live since then, and I think they've made up. Super talented bunch of people.
And funny.
Funny.
Thomas Manley wants to know who let this hoser on here. Question.
Hey,
you might know this guy. Mexican Airman for $5 says, fun fact, I saw Chato in Spanish back in the day.
That is true. Okay. Our show was translated, Four on the Floor was translated into Los Cuatro Locos en el Set, which is 4 crazy guys in the studio. Wow. And I to this day, I am constantly being recognized by South Americans who saw me as Mr. Canoehead. Oh, by the way, which is, where is he? Oh, there we go. Canada's aluminum-headed crime fighter, Mr. Canoehead, who had his canoe welded to his head by a bolt of lightning. A story so incredible only Mormons would believe it.
I still think, and to this day, that is the single greatest superhero ever.
Thank you. It's the dumbest.
Most of them are.
Yes, I know, but it's obviously dumb. Yeah. But he had a very difficult time pushing buttons. Like, he would just
brilliantly so.
Yeah.
Understandably so.
Elevators were beyond him.
Uh,
He didn't turn himself sideways to hit the button. He would just like go up to the elevator, go thunk.
yeah.
I can't push the button.
Can't hit the button.
Can I have someone else push the button? What is
Right.
it? Hello, I'm Mr. Canoehead, Canada's greatest aluminum-headed crime fighter. I would use a paint bucket. I used a paint bucket to do the voice. Where do I have it?
The Slender Dad is saying, "I love the crayons video. That's why I picked that as the thumbnail picture."
Thank you.
Chato did a while back. Excellent metaphor, indeed.
Yeah, that was fun.
So one of the subjects we're going to talk about is the strike ending, and then all of a sudden the stupidity that flowed out of every actor's mouth. Get to world events. I was like, oh no, stop talking. Stop.
Well, yeah, actors are cattle.
Let's see. Mr. Buttcrack Media keeps the pipes flowing. Says, "Hey Paul, were you ever on a show, King of Kensington?"
Pre me, I was never on King of Kensington. It was possibly one of the best sitcoms that we had in that era. One of the only ones. There was also a show called Hanging In, this was pre. I was a youthful individual who watched King of Kensington, but I didn't meet anybody from the show.
A youthful individual. That's how I like to describe my younger years.
Yep.
Look at all these nerds in here. This is fun. All right. Yeah, you are a Renaissance person.
I did a lot of things. I did a lot of things and enjoyed myself, and I still continue to enjoy. The point is, don't stop trying to enjoy yourself. I'm lucky enough to have two great kids that have not given me a whole lot of trouble and are constantly fascinating science experiments.
Okay.
It's actually really handy being a comedian when you're raising kids, because sometimes when they go off the rails, you got to improvise.
Well, yeah. Plus, they gave you yards of material, I'm certain.
Oh yeah, they were fun, but I mean, it's also, you got to kind of get out of body and stop trying to imitate your parents, because the problem is that parents, some young parents imitate being a parent. So they're not being a parent per se. They're imitating what they think a parent should be. They, hey, go get off that thing. Yeah. I mean, why are you yelling, get off that thing? That they might enjoy themselves? Don't let them enjoy themselves. Just say, get off that thing, because it's something a parent does. I remember someone had warned me very early on that if you have kids, they're going to lose it in that gray area between when they nap regularly and they stop napping regularly. And there's this weird window, and they will lose it. And my daughter was in one of the biggest malls in Toronto, and the place was packed. And right outside of the Gap, it was at 1:00 past her witching hour, and she just dropped to the terrazzo floor. Dropped. And she is screaming. And if people are like going by going, those are good parents. Oh my, yes. Certainly they don't know how to parent their child. I would just grab them by the throat and drag them out and yell at them for screaming. So I went, well, what am I going to do? So I laid down next to my daughter, and I looked up at the ceiling, and I went, wow, I've never seen this mall from this angle. This is really cool. And this tiny voice, suddenly the crying and screaming and the bashing stops, and I hear this tiny voice. She says, Dad, get up. No, I'm really enjoying it here. I'm really liking it. Dad, you're embarrassing me. And I went, well, I mean, don't you want to stay down here? No, get up. And then we got up together, and then I heard people actually whispering, that's not how you parent a child. They should have just grabbed them and we should have, just done something like a parent would do.
Hurry up and choke them out, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Come on.
Anyway, so, I mean, that's kind of the comedic brain I'm kind of blessed with. So that was a fun moment. My son did the same thing too. He did it, and I did the same technique, and then they never did it again. I mean, it was
Doesn't that work all the time? I mean, you think outside the box, it'll make the kid go, "What?"
Well, you got to love your kid
Uh,
and think at the moment as opposed to, like I said, don't imitate being a parent. Be a parent.
yeah. I mean, there's always a reason that kids step out of line and how they go about doing it. So,
Absolutely. And you have to figure that out. And my son was a nightmare because he would flip out. And as opposed to my daughter, who would be in the moment, my son, I learned that the problem was 100 feet over there,
yeah.
metaphorically, right? It
Yeah.
would be, oh, it's actually because uh, he's, he lost Hot Wheels, and now it's only coming to fruition now. You know what I mean? So that was always a challenge with my son, in that anytime he flipped out, I had to figure out, okay, what's going on, because it's far away. Oh, you've got secret notes were handed to you?
Yeah, yeah. My phone was absent from my presence. And
Oh,
it was returned to me.
in pieces. Here's
Well,
your phone.
kinda, yeah, sorta. Yeah.
Chink.
Exactly. Well, here's
Okay.
I can't believe all the questions, but now White over on Odyssey. Hi now. Says Seattle had a TV superhero called Speedwalker back in the 80s or 90s.
That's pretty cool. Speedwalker.
Never heard of that.
I wanted to create a superhero that could see 1 second into the future.
I'm not sure how helpful that would be.
No, none at all.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
1 second's actually quite a long time. You could, someone could throw an eraser at someone and you could kind of dodge it.
Spider sense. That's what spider sense is, right? I don't know. Anyway, I know this. Snakes and funerals for $5 as
Oh, thank you, Snakes and Funerals.
that's right. A Mr. Canoe Head movie would be better than the Marvels.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
I don't know anybody that could argue with that. To be fair.
It would be funny and ironic and and stupid on purpose.
I like stupid on purpose. Don't you? I mean,
Yeah.
that's
I addressed a bunch of execs where I said that the thing that the CBC is missing were stupid shows. And they were kind of unbelievably dismissive. And I went, you don't really understand that it takes a certain talent to do like Police Squad, right? I mean, that's not easy to do. It's a ton of work, but it's joyously stupid. And the problem is when you got a pickle up your ass and everyone is worried about being politically correct. Like, for instance, when I left the CBC, I was allowed to pitch a show. And I pitched a show about the fur trade in the 1800s. And one of the characters was a burned out coureur du bois named Claude, who was 4 foot tall, but built like a brick shithouse, but he was an idiot. And I was told by, unfortunately, these were all women in the room judging my work. And they said, well, you can't have a stupid French Canadian in your sitcom. I said, why not? Aren't there stupid French Canadians? And they went, yeah, but you can't have it. I said, but I've watched French language TV. There's stupid Anglos in them. Well, they can do that. So they can have stupid Anglos, but I can't have a stupid French Canadian. No, you can't. So
the world we live in.
yeah, this was back in the 90s, right? So
That's crazy, though.
I
Well,
know.
they were really soft. I mean, and then they would go down to Florida and they'd turn into lobster. That was fantastic.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. We got our good friend Space Dave 2000, who's got a great channel, by the way. Says celebrates 4 months of membership. Wow. Says Dan Aykroyd, Dave Thomas, Eugene Levy, Martin Short, Andrea Martin, and Paul Chato. You're amongst the greats.
Andrea was an American.
Really?
Yep. And then she came up to Canada. Never met Dan Aykroyd. Worked with Dave Thomas. Tried to write a screenplay with him. Eugene I never met. Martin Short, Rick and I actually wrote for him for a TV show of his. Yeah, he's super, super nice people.
I have a question, though. Are you sure Andrew Martin's not Canadian? Because there's a lady from Minnesota that thinks she's an Indian.
I is an Indian. Yes,
Yeah, she thinks
you
he's.
can look it up. I think. And hey,
I believe you. That was. Oh my gosh, Paul. It was.
no. That was a Buffy St. Marie joke. I get it.
Get to
I
the
got it.
joke. Yeah, man.
But I want to know.
Now you want to know.
Is an American Canadian actress. There you go. And her name is Buffy St. Marie.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. The chick from Minnesota that thinks she's First Nation.
Yeah, she's a piece of work. So yeah, Portland, Maine.
Oh, close enough.
Portland, Maine.
Kind of like a Newfie.
Yeah.
Oh man, can you make fun of Newfies?
They're good at making fun of themselves. Brilliant, funny people. Lard, Thunder, and Jesus. They never say that, by the way. That's one of the things. And there's Bayman and Townies.
Right.
And the way you pronounce it is understand Newfoundland. That's how you pronounce Newfoundland.
Hang on a minute. Now White says Speedwalker was played by Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Oh!
I did not know that.
There you go.
I have questions, though. So there's other things here. Like you have Red Green, SCTV, Kids in the Hall, Frantics, etc. Yeah.
Yep. Red Green, great show. Steve.
Could you make any of this stuff today?
Well, I mean, in terms of doing it, a lot of this stuff was done privately. So Red Green was private money. SCTV, I think, was private money. Kids in the Hall had some CBC money. The Frantics had CBC money. I don't know. I think anybody with the wherewithal, you have to get a broadcast license to be able to get the show on. And we had a channel called Channel 11 CHCH where you could do stuff in Hamilton locally, and then that could be spread across the country. So it's more of a question of, can you get airtime on CBC, CTV, Global? That's really shut up, Siri. So, yeah, can you get airtime? That's always the deal. You could in theory get the money to develop a show like History Bites, but you got to have a place to play it.
Well, okay, so I think that you should take it upon yourself, because you don't have enough to do. Take it upon yourself to start a YouTube channel that's just things I can't play in Canada.
Well, I'm kind of doing that now with my channel.
That's true.
But they don't play it in Canada because my stuff is shit. That's the reason.
That's not true. Everybody loves your stuff.
I'm fishing for compliments.
I know. I took the bait.
I should have worn a tie too, like you did. I'm sorry.
No, it's fantastic.
Have we scuppered the premise of your show here?
Oh, clearly. It's clearly this thing is
gone off the rails.
We'll get, you and I always do that.
That's fine. I love that. But I want to answer your questions, so you have to at least get to those.
You know what? Let's do that. I promise we'll return to Super Chats and all your great questions. We are having a joyful time here because Paul is so very giving. He thought he was going to have to stay up even later tonight. He was
waiting for 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm like, that's 3 hours away, bro. No, you're not doing that.
But you're not West Coast, are you?
This show is based in Pacific time.
Oh, it is. Okay. Yeah. So no, I'm fine.
We've got Mr. Buttcrack Media did I say that? Mr. Buttcrack Media is celebrating 12 months of membership. Hey, Culture, I'm a newfie. LOL. I can't.
Tundra and dying.
I'm kidding. And I love newfies. You guys don't understand.
I have a funny Newfoundland story.
All my favorite jokes about Canadians are just about all Canadians.
Do you want to hear my funny Newfoundland?
I do actually. I'll make you embiggened. There.
Oh no, I like having you there. No, don't do that. I
want to be there.
No, I like your reactions. Make me smaller. It's okay. So when the Frantics started, obviously, like any, whenever you're starting, you start small, right? And so the Frantics got to play at a place called the Newfie Club in Toronto, upstairs from a men's strip club. Now, this is a men's strip club, not for men, but for women. So it was like a Chippendales.
Yeah.
So, but we played during their breaks because whenever they did their act, it was the floor would shake, and we had these drunken newfies with their beer. Oh man, you guys are funny. This is really terrific. They're drunken the newfie club, and I mean they just went there to get completely
Schnockered.
schnackered,
Yeah.
and then not too long, and then at the same time. We would also, at Christmas time, as part of our charity work, we would do detention centers. So
Oh, wow.
we would play men's jails and women's jails and things like
Yeah.
that, and perform at no cost. And so one time we were at the men's facility, and like a big audience, 300 guys, and they just really loved our show. And but the stage was protected from them, obviously,
Right.
and then the exit went to the left of us,
Mhm.
and there was a chain link fence. So we had to stay on stage
Right.
until the gentleman, incarcerated gentleman, would be
Exited.
herded off to the side. And so we just waited there. And then I hear, hey, Paul. And I look over, and a guy is like jumping over the heads of all the other guys as they're filing out, waving, hey, saw you at the Newfie Club. You guys were great.
That's awesome.
Hey, Paul, saw you at the Newfie Club. You guys were great. And it's like just part of his life. He's now in jail for something. I don't know.
Oh, well, it just probably tax fraud. It's fine.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure.
Yeah,
That's exactly right.
it-
So
it-
that's my new
all
feeling.
right. We were almost done. I got a couple I got to bring up because people are interested in you. I don't know why.
I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't get it.
You're a good interviewer.
One of the greatest mods on YouTube here is Chris Bursa. Says a question for Mr. Chato. Says did he ever work for Bizarre?
No. So that happened at CTV. I was at the CTV studios many times, but I never saw John Biner
Really?
on Bizarre. So I visited the studio that he worked in. We actually rehearsed in his studio, but I never saw John Biner.
George, hey, what's up? George Peter Gatsis says, great comic artist. Says, Paul, did you do the Beachcombers?
So Beachcombers was another long running, not a sitcom, but kind of a mildly amusing show from the West Coast in BC, featuring Bruno Gerussi, and we would call him Bruno Juicy. That would be our funny name for him. And no, so Beachcombers is a very important Canadian show that the government actually mandated all Canadians to watch. We had to, or our taxes would increase.
Well, then I guess not enough of you were watching that show because your taxes went bananas recently. Anyway. Mr. Butt Crack Media, another super chat. All right, guys, thank you. I love the
Mr. Butt Crack, you're very generous.
He is, and it's amazing for a Canadian $5. Okay, so like $1.50. People, I'm just kidding. It's a joke. They're jokes. Hey, Paul, did you work on Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future?
No, I did not.
Huh.
Would have been fun though.
I'm choking to death in here. You're making me laugh too much.
I'm just a happy guy.
You're jovial.
I am. And I the funniest thing is because I'm a morning person too. You go to business meetings and they go, God damn it, you're way too cheerful, Chato.
Yeah, in the morning and we're on,
I'm very lucky. My dad, even though I had a weird relationship with him, the one thing that he was an indomitable optimist.
Ooh.
And I got that trait from him.
See, and I try to do that too. I try to be very optimistic. I am. I try to see the bright side of life and push people towards that because I think it's important.
And my parents went through horrific times during World War II. And anytime I feel sorry for myself, I just think about what they go through and I say, Paul, you are a wanker. Get your ass in gear. I could tell, I made a lot of people laugh here, but I could tell stories that would make you weep. But I'm not going to do that. So that keeps me centered, knowing what my parents went through.
Your family went through some really rough times. And one of the things that you talked about on Midnight's Edge, and I kind of want to visit this because, it speaks to a lot of what's happening right now in the Middle East. your family went through those bad times, but they also dealt with all that stuff with a lot of humor. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very strange thing to think, that oftentimes people in the very last moments of their life, and they knew it, would deal with it with humor.
Well, sometimes what choice do you have,
Yeah.
right?
I think that's absolutely fascinating, and I hope that that's one of my responses to being put in those situations, because yeah, I don't know how else you can react. But it's very creative. It's very interesting. Yeah, yeah,
We
and of
are
course,
the combination of all the influences, good, bad, and indifferent.
good question. I love it. You guys are great. Apparently, you were a teen sensation.
No, I don't
No?
think so. No.
Did Canada have like Star Search or anything?
Yes, Tiny Talent Time.
And is that where we got that one Tiffany chick from?
Oh, maybe. Tiny
I-
Talent Time was huge. We CBC had sort of like a top of the pops kind of show,
Did you
people
watch?
dancing. You know,
Did you watch How I Met Your Mother?
uh, I've seen one episode.
Because Colby Smulders was in that, and
Yeah, Canadian.
yeah, and she's a really good actress. So I think she's just never given a real opportunity
No,
to be anything,
she's too tall. They don't like her.
which is dumb because she's great.
Oh, I know.
Anyway,
But they'd rather they need 4'2" Rachel Ziegler's. Could you imagine Smolders next to Ziegler? Now, a buddy cop movie with the two of them, that would be funny. If Ziegler could actually
but
act.
Gal Gadot, wherever you
Oh
want to say,
yeah, she towers over.
towers over her. So yeah, I'm like, come on. Anyway, Colby Smulders, she was supposedly a teen pop star in Canada. That her character was
Oh wow.
in that
Okay.
How I Met Your Mother show. So yeah, I was just curious.
No, no.
I'm weird. Nano Reaper, did you play at the prison where Canadian cannibal and former adult star is housed? I don't know who that is, but I don't know. I don't
How
know.
dirty can I get here?
I usually don't say a lot of bad words
Okay.
or any, but look, I have a
I have a
break.
great because I have a great women's prison story.
Is it how is it like? Do you have to say bad words to do it?
No, I don't.
I trust you. You're a friend.
Okay, so but this is rude. So so
This
think,
is rude.
so we're at the women's prison,
All right.
and at the guy prison we're fine because it's kind of jocular, right?
Yeah.
And but the women's prison, you went in there and the atmosphere is completely different. The women are way tougher than the men. Like they are scowling, and you have women that have gone through just horrific things in their personal lives, and then crime was probably not their first option, but they went through it. There were murderers in there, um, and the women, when they're stuck together, have ambiguous sexual interests. The women are tough, tattooed, and just like tough. And in that audience was a very large black woman, like 300 plus pounds, right in the middle. And it was clear that she was the queen bee. And no one reacted unless she reacted. And she was scowling. So these four white guys come on stage with sparkly ties, suburban dude doing our stupid shit. And when it works, it's great. But when it doesn't work, you feel really naked. And then you're going, wow, this stuff is really stupid. But then I told the guys backstage after 15 minutes worth of nothing, I said, I got to go outside. I got to go on the stage. And I'm going to tell the rudest joke I possibly can. And so so I go and say, hey, I understand there's a Mary in the audience. And the woman in the middle, because I picked up who she was, the big black woman said, yeah, that's me. And I went, well, there's a party in your mouth and everyone's coming. And then the other girls start hitting her in the arm and howling with laughter and saying the most horrific things. Hey, Mary, there's a you C word, blah, 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 blah. And the big woman starts cracking a smile, like some a Fisk, like the Fisk character, and then went backstage and we killed. Like from that point on, the show just absolutely went bonkers happy. And at the very end, we met the women in the lobby. I don't know why they let us do that.
That's
And the
fun.
women turned into our mothers.
Oh, I
And
bet.
they went, you boys are very talented. Oh my God. Are you doing that all the time? I cannot tell you. And you did clean jokes, and we're just so appreciative of what you came here and doing all that stuff. I cannot, like, your mothers must be very proud. Like they just bang
Wow.
turned into our mothers, and they were the sweetest people in the world. But it was, I mean, these women have gone through and continue to go through horrific personal
Yeah,
tragedies.
yeah. And
Breaking the ice.
Empress and MM says, breaking the ice. Yes, that indeed was an
That's
icebreaker.
what I did. So that's I wasn't afraid to do that kind of stuff.
Oh, holy ranch eggs.
Holy huevos rancheros, yeah.
Huevos rancheros is ranch eggs. Oh,
Huevos rancheros, yes. So yeah, that was a good moment, and I was really happy to be able to, break the ice and entertain, those women.
that's right.
Oh,
Penny,
the prison people were really mad though. The girls wanted us back next year.
and did you go?
No, because the people who invited us were really pissed off that I told that joke.
Oh man.
So the enjoyment of people who get very little enjoyment in their lives was less important than the protocol.
Than the fact that you busted a great joke.
Yeah,
Okay.
the protocol. So that was fun. So
Well,
I hope I didn't like cancel your show here.
Nah, we're fine. I mean, Penny, we have to be nice.
That was a off-color joke, but I didn't
It
swear.
was, but okay. So that wasn't a filthy joke. So it was borderline. But honestly, like if it's 2 hours later on my channel, sometimes we say some.
Yeah. So I don't want to cut down your channel. Paul, from one Canadian to another, do you feel that Canadian Bacon is underrated movie? No, I think it's rated pretty good. It was not a bad effort. Not a bad effort. A little too on the nose. I think if I could have helped Michael write the jokes, it would have been better. But he was making a point. It's fun. I mean, good.
Yeah, it was. Thanks for the $5 super chat. What's your
Yeah.
first? Big Bubba Big Daddy Porkins. We're never going to get away from the questions. We are going to do my 3 questions, which is
Yes.
the whole point of having you on. Says Paul Chato, how did you meet Tom and Andre of Midnight's Edge? Good question.
I think it was a Mexican Iron Man who was begging them to put me on and said, "Hey, you really need to get this guy on your channel." And then they said, "Okay, well, we'll get him on."
Yeah,
And
I think that's one of the beautiful things about Mike. Mike makes relationships happen, makes channels happen. Every he may not be a YouTuber, but he is a facilitator.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, good
Love
man.
him to death.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the consensus. If I were to say who is probably the mover and shaker behind the scenes, it would always be.
Well, I mean, I will say though that switching over to this milieu and the people that I've met, like you and obviously Tom and Andre and Mike, who I've now met in person.
Yeah. That was so great. You guys having so much fun together.
Oh, we had just a terrific time. And then, like even Gary Beckler and Beekler. And what's neat is that I know that if I drop a note to a whole bunch of these people, yourself or whomever, Chris Gore, and I say, "Hey, I'm getting in my van. I'm going to be in LA, such and such a date. Do you want to get together?" And it's like done. It's like a done deal. I mean, there's no, if the time is available, everyone's going to go, "Yeah, let's do it." I mean, it's really a fantastic community.
Yeah, we try. I would try to get you to meet me up at my cabin up north because I think
I love it.
Yeah, it would be a lot of fun. Yeah, it's the weirdest thing though. It's because I feel the same way. Like I can pick up the phone or send a direct message or whatever to anybody. And
if you're coming up my way, absolutely, we'd even give you a place to sleep.
Yeah, and then we all end up. I know this sounds weird, and this is way off any of the subjects we normally talk about. But I know if I was like, hey, I'm going to go to this meetup, and I think I need a few more people to show up, or you be available, because I mean that's kind of how all this stuff starts to happen. So then you end up with like crowds and crowds and crowds and crowds, and then you all intermingle, and then you meet other people, and then
Yep.
yeah, it's this really really cool version of friendship networking.
Yeah.
So,
Although I have to tell you that when I went to the United States, crossing the border to visit Mike in
yeah.
South Carolina,
That's what it's easy.
the guy at the not the security, but the what do they call him? The
Customs.
customs guy
Yeah.
said, "Well, what are you doing?" Well, I'm meeting this, meeting Mike Cologne in South Carolina, and where did you meet him? And I went, "Oh, I met him online." I went, "Fuck." Sorry, I meant Grinder. No, no, I didn't say that. So he's looking at me, and I can hear my son next to me kind of tittering away, going, "Wow, that does not sound good."
It doesn't. That's not a good out loud statement.
No, I met him online. He he messaged me a picture of his penis. Oh, yeah. No, and I went, no, I've got a YouTube channel, and he has a YouTube channel, and we're doing a collab. And he went, yeah, okay, fine. But when it first came out of my mouth, it didn't really sound wrong to go, I met him online. And then, but like it only took a nanosecond, to watch this guy
Oh no.
staring at me going, wow, that's just wrong.
I met this guy online. I love it. I'm gonna die, but I love it. Oh, thank you for that.
You know what? That's like a talk show story. I think I'll
You need
put
to
that in
save
my
that
library.
and then find a way to like keep hitting the joke
That's
throughout.
right.
Yeah. That's the way that's one of the ways to like get that to just keep keep it going. I
Yeah,
think
and you know what? The sad thing is that if I was on Fallon, I would never be able to do the women's prison joke.
no, but you could on what was his name? He was I think he was a Scot.
Ferguson?
Yeah, Ferguson. Yeah,
Yeah, probably could. Yeah, I could do
Ferguson.
it on
Yeah, of
Ferguson's
course.
show.
It'd be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, and then he would like help you.
Oh, yeah, it's good. That's very funny, Paul.
He needs,
I would have done the same thing.
we got to get him back on TV. The guy's freaking the best. I don't
Yeah.
care what anybody says.
Oh, flirting was something else.
Oh, dude, he would make women like just like all of a sudden they would turn into candles. I was like, wow, how do you do that?
Because he just went for it.
Yeah, and then they would just go.
Oh,
That was amazing. Oh, he could bring out a cougar in any.
Well, women like flirting is actually a skill.
It is.
And Europeans can do it without making it lascivious. The problem is, and this, I'm tar and feathering all of the United States male population, but generally speaking, they don't know how to flirt. It's more Hooters kind of Playboy view of women as opposed to
he's not lecherous. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's more lecherous and less honest.
Yeah.
Whereas a European will go, hello, can I get into your panties? Maybe later. Okay, I'll be around. Never mind. So I just found. I mean, if you try, have you been to Europe?
Yeah, I mean, but I've never been asked if
But you observe what they're doing. Like the men can be pigs, but I mean, it's different.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it's not. They're not asking about my panties. That's fine.
Director X victim fetish. That's a good name.
Paul tried to muscle in on my excellent Robin Hood series, but was rightfully condemned. That's the right. I had that one. I was like, "Oh, you worked hard and it paid off. Well done."
Yeah.
And the thing is, okay, so here I'm going to say this out loud in front of lots of people. I don't think Director X is like he's not ill-intentioned. You know,
Nope.
I think he got dealt a bad hand by your government when he was trying to make a show that ended up being not what he wanted to make.
Yep. We'll see. I mean, he was a little bit too proud of what was done, though. So that's a
He
contradiction.
played defense on some stuff that I was like, whoa, because I mean, obviously, I hang out with Mr. H, and Mr. H was the first guy to like really take him up on the interview thing, and the pushback was interesting. And yeah, in fact, we talked Mr. H, Tom and I and Andre talked Mr. H into doing that interview because he was like, I'm not going to talk to this guy.
You remember?
So
But that was a great interview.
He did a great job.
He did a great job.
Yeah. Okay, we got more supers, and we will get to the 3 questions right after these 2 supers, and then I promise, guys, we will get back to you guys because guess what? The rest of the show is toast at this point. My goodness. Empress NM for $5 says, Paul, when you met the kids in the Hall Boys, did you get to touch Bellini?
No, I know the reference. No, and I never met him. He apparently a very talented writer.
That's sad. You deserved it. You should have.
I'm half naked most of the time.
And my editor, who loves you dearly, Mr. Gregory, for $2 Australian, because he's in the land down under, says, my mother left me before I was born.
That's a tragic life.
I'm not sure how to deal with that one, so I'm gonna let it go. Let it go.
Like my kid was so ugly. I mean, that's like that's a Rodney Dangerfield joke.
Like most of the ladies at Planned Parenthood.
My kid was so ugly. My wife left me before he was born.
Yeah. And I wasn't making a joke there, kids. No. I mean, I was, but not the one that you think. So it'll be fine. I'm one of those people that not super happy about when people don't get to enter the world. So, but that's a political opinion and not an entertainment one. On that note, are you ready, Paul?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Let's talk about 3 questions.
The 3 questions.
You get to stay on stage for that. So they were hearing you do the mouth poppy thing. You like that? It's a kind of a hip little stinger there, right? Just up.
It needs that. It needs the German bubble sound.
If you want to record it, I will do it. I think that's perfect. All right. So the first 3 questions. Let's get to the first one. This is easy. This one's the easy one. What is your favorite television show of all time?
Pondered this a lot, but I would have to say the one that has influenced me the most would be Monty Python's Flying Circus.
Man, I watched that. Okay, so my biological father and I would stay up late at night. He let me stay up. I got to sit in his room and watch it on his big TV. Monty Python's Flying Circus at too young an age. I was watching that at like 6 years old.
Too young.
Yeah, but it was great. And
good.
I learned an awful lot. And I saw a lot of things too. I saw too early. Lots of horror films, things like that, monster movies. And you know what? I'm better for it. Look at me. Look at how well I turned out. I'm even wearing a Snoopy tie right now.
You're good. You're a good guy.
No, but I learned an awful lot at an early age, and it was really well worth it. I appreciate British humor in a way that I don't think a lot of Americans can. Probably because of my biological father. So,
was he Brit? Was he a Brit?
No.
Okay, but he just liked British humor.
Oh yeah, he introduced me to a lot of amazing things. I learned how to play poker, I think, when I was 7.
Good for your dad.
My grandfather taught me how to shoot craps, I think, when I was 10 years old.
I've always been afraid of gambling.
Well, hey, I'll take you. I'll teach you I'll teach you how to gamble money.
Okay, well, we'll go to a casino or something.
We'll do that sometime. Yeah, well, my channel is aptly named.
That's right. Absolutely.
CultureCasino.
You're a gambling man.
All right, we got like 200 people in here. Thanks for being here, everybody. Love you and appreciate you.
Wow.
Yeah, we got okay, so that was a great answer. A lot of people in the chat are going to give answers similar.
I mean, there's other shows that I love that I've seen dozens of times, but it didn't influence my career.
Really?
Right. I mean, The Prisoner might be my favorite show of all time.
Wow, that's a good choice. That's good to know. All right, so well, I guess we'll move on to the second one. This is one of those ones that I love to ask this question because it's not what people think. What is your go-to film when you're sick, when you're homesick? What's your comfort film? That's the one that I think most people have to think about.
I have two, but I'll tell you
You can give them both. I'm just curious.
The Matrix.
Wow. Really? That you
Mhm.
just go and watch that like a zillion
Oh,
times.
I've seen it 50 times.
You know, you're a tech guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I saw that film 2 months before it came out.
How?
I'll tell you someday.
So, but Carrie, I mean,
Carrie Ann Moss.
Carrie, so who?
Carrie Ann Moss.
Carrie Ann Moss. You said Ed Moss. Yeah.
No.
Carrie Ann Moss was the most beautiful girl like I'd ever seen in a
It was amazing,
movie.
right? Yeah. And she was great in that. Wonderful actress.
And it was a love story,
It was beginning to end.
beginning to end. Yep.
Do something for the love of a woman. That love is reciprocated. They were meant to be together.
Right. And she brought him back to life.
Yeah. Which kind of is amazing. He sacrificed for her and
Yep.
he sacrificed for him.
And it's a simple thing. People don't mind seeing people in love with each other and what they're willing to do for each other. It's a powerful thing to do in a movie, which a certain company seems to just doesn't want to do it anymore.
Do you think, this is a completely different question than from anything I normally ask, do you think you could turn The Matrix into a comedy?
Sure. Oh yeah.
You could still retain everything, including that love story.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you could make it a rom-com even, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you could very easily make the world believable and have it funny. Yeah, you could.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I think it is. Man, the chat is on fire today. You guys are
We're having a good time.
Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, well, me. Amazing they never made another Matrix movie. I agree with you.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
They only made one, but I think we were happy with it. Who needs sequels?
Yeah,
And
I mean,
the first one is perfect.
just stop and don't make 3 more.
Yeah. No. Why would I never heard of the other 3 anyway? So
Yeah, I don't think anybody did. Yeah. And okay, all right. Let's move on to the last question. Man, you're answering these quickly. You're just burning through them. Okay, so what was your best film experience? Now, that's a trick question because I didn't ask you what your favorite film was. I'm asking you what your
yeah,
best.
I understand, and I have an answer.
Okay.
Terminator 2.
Really?
Yep. Midnight show at the Northview Cinema, packed to the gills, filled with mostly guys. And 12 midnight movie comes on.
That's right.
We are screaming. The liquid guy when the cop goes through the bars of the, we are just nuts. Like, it was the right time to see it, 12 midnight, the right theater, because it was a mammoth screen. They tore that theater down right after that movie ran its course. So it was the last movie in that theater. And you were with a bunch of people who got it, loved the first movie. You didn't even have to talk to any. I went there on my own, but I understood every single person there. Like, we were one.
Yeah.
And that was extraordinary. That was really amazing. I could have said Star Wars or things like that, but which were good, but there was just something special with Terminator 2 that night. The weather, the crowd,
Yeah.
I mean, no one was yelling and screaming during
No.
Star Wars. No one. I mean, this was just the hooting and hollering was fantastic. So
When Star Wars ended, and mind you, I saw the original film in the theater,
yeah,
which
me too.
it was Star
I
Wars.
saw it on the day it opened in Toronto.
Yeah, and I saw it on the state's largest screen.
Wow.
It's this 70 millimeter print on the largest screen that actually curved around the room.
The university cinema did that partially. That was the best screen in Toronto. Was the university cinema.
Yeah.
Although we had the Glendale, which they played 2001 for 3 years solid.
Yeah, well, Star Wars played forever in that particular theater.
Right.
It was the biggest screen in the state, and I, from the first time I saw it when it opened, I begged, borrowed, threw fits, threw rocks to make sure I got to see it every weekend
Wow.
for a long time. I don't remember how
Wow.
long, but I was having parents, uncles, everybody just take me to see the film.
Nice.
Yeah, because that was the film that lit my fuse. That's the number one film experience.
Yep.
So
no, I can totally get that, but I gotta put it down. I mean, I was the most sweaty watching Alien.
Oh yeah. That one is
So my girlfriend at the time loved horror movies, and I remember looking at my watch and going, "There's a half an hour left in this movie, and I can't deal with it." But it was so cathartic that when I left the theater, I was fist pumping. Yeah. But it still didn't match Terminator 2, which is a nerd experience.
It's a nerd thing. Yeah. I mean, I was surprised you picked Matrix, but then again, it makes a lot of sense. It speaks to who you are.
That's true.
And that's some of the reason I ask the questions that I do. And I have a whole another set of questions to ask people coming up.
Probing.
It's just, you can always get a sense of somebody from those questions. And then the next set of questions are not entertainment related. So, and I'll get to those the next time I have you on, but Paul, you're wonderful. You're a delight. And, every time I hang out with you, I feel like I have learned things, and B, that I feel like we're closer every time.
I think so. I mean, this forum is one of the best. I think you do a great job.
Thank you.
And, it's much more, I feel like I'm being interviewed in a, like a late night show. Everything else is kind of work. Not that I don't mind doing Midnight's Edge or any of the other things, but this didn't feel like work at all. And it was just, we were just shooting the shit.
That's the most important thing, just having a good conversation. We might have a few more questions here.
Sure. Questionable questions. So you're wrapping up soon, I take.
Yeah, I got it. Well, I told you I wasn't going to keep you much more than 90 minutes. I am a man of my word. I'm not Midnight's Edge. You're not going to keep you here for another hour and a half. And no fault on my friends. Okay. No shade, but they just have plenty to cover, and they have a lot of time to do it. And your time is precious to me, so I value it.
I'm having fun. It's Friday
night. Also, I try to send people to other shows. So, like, there's a show after this one that I usually forward my audience to on YouTube. They go see Ascendant Art, and some of them get there and then leave immediately, but they should stick around because that's a funny bunch of guys. But anyway, Jin Wong for an Australian, $5. This guy's an incredibly talented artist. He says, a comedy Matrix joke. After a while, you don't see code. You see blonde. That's a redhead. That's Ugg. That's Dylan.
Dylan Mulvaney.
That's a good one.
The days when we were able to substitute real women with fake women.
You know what? Here's the weirdest thing, right? Milton Berle. I mean, we have a list of male actors that have done female bits, right?
And but that's part of vaudeville.
It was. And back in the days, vaudeville, sometimes you didn't have ladies in the troupe, or you didn't have any ladies in your troupe. So you had to do that. I don't know. If you're putting it on, I think Quartering calls woman face or something. But if you're putting it on, that's a different thing than if there's like a weird thing going on there.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots to be said. Wartime, the guys would, dress up in bras, and the guys would be hooting. Yeah, would be hooting. And I'm talking about like getting on stage during the war. Guys would,
Oh, acting. Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
the soldiers. Some of the soldiers would just do a sketch, and they'd dress up as women, and the easiest joke at the time was dressing up like a woman, and I mean Monty Python did it a lot. Oh yeah, look at the painting. Yes, it's a Vermeer. Oh, look at your son is eating the Rembrandt. Get that painting, get that Renaissance painting out of your mouth, young man. I mean,
Spam.
spam, 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 spam. Wonderful, wonderful spam. Not much spam in there. It's got a little bit of spam. Not much spam.
Spam, spam, spam and egg spam.
Just got a little bit of spam in it. Nobody expected a Spanish Inquisition.
The Inquisition. What a show.
Nobody expected a Spanish Inquisition. Our chief weapon is fear. Fear and surprise. 2 chief weapons. 2 fear, surprise, and a ruthless dedication to the Pope. 3 chief weapons. Shut up. Read the charges, Cardinal Biggles.
Oh, you guys are so great. You guys are so great. All right. On that note, Paul's or any. Well, you know what? I actually have a bit I have to play for this because we didn't get to the topics. We didn't get to your Canadian news. We didn't get to the weird news.
Yeah.
Sad. We'll have to do it again. Does that sound fair? We'll have to do it again.
I'm done. I'm all for it.
All right. Here we go.
I'm for doing something together.
I don't know why it did that twice, but it did. And this is your opportunity to plug yourself, Paul.
Well, please, you can come and watch my YouTube channel, Call Me Chato, where I talk and review about. That's doing okay. I talk about entertainment, have fun about talking, and I just reviewed Scott Pilgrim.
Ooh.
And I got pillared for not crapping on the fact that it was bait and switch, because my point of view is, yeah, try it, do it, and then then the audience will decide with their pocketbooks, or in this case, streaming numbers, whether they agreed with the strategy or not. I don't get bugged by the strategy. I just say, hey, you know what? We'll take a look at the box office, and if the box office worked, then that worked fine. If the box office failed, then they failed. But I don't get like bent out of shape the way people have in the comments about me saying, okay, yes, it was bait and switch, and I found out what their reasons were for it, and I talked about that. But it's funny, the anger towards me ignoring the bait and switch aspect of
you were
the show.
properly pilloried.
I was properly pilloried. And then I've started a new news channel, where I get to piss people off and kind of be funny at the same time if I can. And my latest video, I just sort of analyze I talk about the car crash at Rainbow Bridge, where a guy took a $300,000 Bentley, launched it into the air at 100 miles per hour, and then blew it up to such a degree that only bits and pieces of it were left. And my point was, people immediately called it a terrorist thing, and then politicians with a vested interest in
they wanted
jumping on that said it was terrorist, and then we found out it wasn't. So I mean, I talked about the challenges of media, and we no longer have one media to trust, and should we have ever trusted it anyway, and how we have so little trust in media. So
yeah, and consider this. I mean, all of that was because he was trying to get to a Kiss concert across the border.
Not quite. The Kiss concert was canceled. Because Paul Stanley was ill, so they went to a casino.
Oh, darn. I like my story better.
So I did some research on that.
I got mine from the mainstream media.
Well, you never trust the mainstream. You got to trust me only. Yeah. This is my third video, I think, that I've done on. It's my channel is called Appalling News. APAULING. It's a joke.
I think it would appalling. Yeah, that's good. I like that. I would love to see you and Viva Fry together on a show. That'd be great.
That would do what? I'm sorry?
I would love to see you and Viva Fry on a show together.
Someone said that. Someone's been mentioning Viva Fry. So
I think it'd be fun. You get a lawyer and an entertainment guy, and you're both Canadians.
yes, I've seen him.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyways, that's what I'm doing.
All
Right now, if you had to choose between the two channels and not just subscribe to both, then pick Appalling News.
Appalling News.
Appalling News, and because I want to get that to monetized.
I'll be there. I'll watch Appalling
I'm
News.
already up to, where am I?
Probably doing really well.
It's not. Oh no, it's up over 300. That's all I know.
Wow, that's better than none.
It's better than none, so that's not too bad. So,
Yeah.
anyways, so yeah, you can find me there.
I think you're incredible, and I think you're well worth everybody's.
Well, thank you. I'm just having fun, and I'm trying to make fun of YouTube also, because I think it's a goofy place.
We are goofy people.
I'm trying to be meta about things and not take things way too seriously. So,
yeah. And actually, here's where you can follow Paul on Twitter.
Yes,
you are a fun follow on Twitter too.
Yeah, I'm under a little bit of anxiety these days, but I hopefully
it's fine.
Thank you, Six.
Yeah. Well, she dropped your Appalling News channel too. It's right.
Thank you. There. You're a sweetheart.
On that note, guys, thanks for being here, everybody. We had an incredible time. I hate to leave you with the end credits, but I have to because we ran over about 3 minutes now, and I want to get you over to Ascendant Art.
But we'll have to do this again.
Do it again, I promise. And
great.
For those of you out there in the audience, do stick around. You will automatically go over to Ascendant Art. Just stick around for a minute. Hit the like button. They're kind of funny. I like little Chad and the guys. Slender Dad. Occasionally the mad one himself gets there, Mad Mardigan. Just check it out. Books. Check them out. Thanks, Paul, for being here. I appreciate you, man.
Oh, no problem. We'll maybe see you next week.
Oh, I will see you on Monday, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Night's Edge in the morning. This is what
I will remember this always. You're good.
I wish. All right, we're going to have some end credits, and then we're going to be out of here. So have a great weekend, everybody. I will see you on the Late Night Culture Show on Sunday night, and I don't know, maybe other places. Just pay attention. I'll see you later.
Bye, and don't forget to subscribe to this guy.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, if you're, I hope you're already subscribed. I hope you were. Anyway, bye. Oh, wait, it didn't work. Ah!
Please be seated at this time. We're landing in about 1 minute. Thank you.